Hi, I'm Hannah. Welcome back to my channel, Mostly Paper Crafts. I haven't been feeling well, so I'm going to avoid putting my face on camera for this video, but I'm really excited to share the January SCT Sampler with you and all of my projects. We're going to take a look at the contents of the sampler, and please forgive my voice. I've been sick for a few days and waiting to film this, but the longer I wait to film, the longer I have to wait to play with everything. So we always get a card with a nice quote on it this month for January: where there's love, there's life. And on the back, we get a description of everything that's included in the sampler. So almost everything is from Simple Stories this time, but we have a couple of SCT exclusives. I'm actually going to start with those. So we have 4 dies, SCT dies, which is so exciting. I don't think they've ever sent their own dies before. 2 stitched hearts, a large and a medium. And then we also have this love die with its shadow. And I cut this out. I'm using pink and red cardstock so you can see what it looks like. There it is. I knew it was around here somewhere. So this is what it looks like when it's layered together. And this is just so special. You know, I pay $14 a month for this sampler shipped. And I feel like even just these love dies and the hearts is worth about $14. So great value in this month's sampler for sure. Now we'll take a look at all of the goodies from Simple Stories. We have this nice chipboard frame. It says hello. And some little accent pieces, some little die cuts. We have some yellow enamel dots and a bunch of stickers. So these first stickers are foam stickers. They're very thick. They have a nice shiny front to them. And then 2 sheets of stickers. This one just has numerals, but this one has a bunch of fun little sentiments and images like the butterflies. I really like this house plant here. We get a thumbs up, good times, a bee, beautiful. So lots of fun things to use on your projects. Normally in our sampler, we get a bunch of 6x6 paper, but this month we've got these smaller papers that are, well, 3x6, and then some larger papers that are 6x8, and there's 12 of each of these. Now, these are certainly made for scrapbookers, because when I show you what's on the other side, these are for journaling, and there's a bunch of elements on the other side of this that are definitely intended for scrapbookers, but I am going to use these to make cards. I love all of these bright patterns. They coordinate really well together, and they are exactly the same on the small sheets and the large sheets. So I'm not going to go through both piles. They're exactly the same. Really pretty. I think my favorite is these peaches. I think that is so sweet. And then you'll see one of the elements of the larger sheet says peachy or something like that. So some of these have sentiments on them. Some of them have pretty images. But you can see a lot of things that are intended for scrapbookers or memory makers. And I'll be using some of these on my card fronts, and some of them I'll just be using the pretty paper on the back. I'm going to get a lot of use out of this. Okay, these large sheets that are 6x8, there are 12 of these in here, and you already saw how pretty the patterns are. This is such a great deal this month for this sampler. Okay, so that was the larger papers, and then the last thing I have to show you today is the backs of the smaller papers, and these, like I said, are journaling cards. So for the most part, I'm just going to be using these ones for the patterned paper on the other side, since I'm going to be mostly just making cards. I did used to scrapbook. I was a scrapbooker before I was a card maker, and I could see getting a lot of use out of these if that is something that I still really did, but it isn't, and I'm really excited to have all of these pretty papers to play with. The first thing I did was go through those larger 4x8 sheets and decide which elements I want, and I cut them down. So some of the pieces are left just as patterned paper. These are the elements I decided I might want on my card fronts. These panels are cut to 4 by 5 1/4, which is great for an A2 size card, leaving just a little white border around the outside. And then I decided for now to keep the 4 by 6 panels intact, because these could either be cut into 4 by 5 1/4, or I might cut them into mini slimline size. Then the next task is going to be sifting through these stickers and the ephemera and starting to put together some cards. I ended up making 15 cards and a bonus project using this sampler, and I actually had a lot of other pieces left over, but I decided to call it and just put these little pieces into my scrap pile, because I could have probably made 6 or 7, maybe 8 more cards, but I thought it was time to move on. So for my first card, I used one of the foam stickers here. I cut out this cassette tape. It was part of one of the patterned papers, but I just fussy cut around it. This Celebrate Every Day was part of one of those papers as well. I added some stickles in there for some shine, and I really like matting my pattern paper onto the card base and leaving a thin white border. Most of the cards that I make are A2 sized, which means that they are 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. So to achieve this look, the patterned paper is cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4. And most of my cards are going to be that size. So here's a card that looks completely different, but still has that same nice thin border around the outside. I used one of my circle dies to cut out this bee sentiment here. This piece of texture cardstock is just from my stash, and then I used some little trimmings of patterned paper from this sampler to finish this off. There's some foam behind this popped up sentiment here, and I really liked that I was able to mat this onto a piece of colored card for my card base. I thought that gave it a nice tranquil look. On another colored card base, we have a hello card. This card features 3 of the enamel dots. We've got some of the different pattern papers here. And you're going to see a lot of what I did was just use those chopped up pieces and figured out how to arrange them together to get the look that I was going for. And this one is on a gray card base. Remember that circle that was cut out with the bee? Well, this is just the back of that paper actually, and I thought it framed this oh hey sentiment really nicely. We've got some more patterned paper here and a couple of little bits from my stash for embellishments, and this is also mounted onto a colored card base. Continuing on with those colored card bases, we've got a little collage here. I like this right now sentiment with the calendar. I use the number sign from the sticker sheet as a hashtag, chasing my dreams. And then I just put a bunch of different elements that I had from the sampler together here. Just little pieces that were cut out from some of the larger sheets and a couple of the stickers. And then I did add a couple of embellishments from my stash. This is on a pretty orange card base. I love having that variety. There's nothing wrong with a bunch of white card bases, but I have all of these colored card bases pre-made. And when I'm doing these sampler challenges, I like to try to use those up, and someday I will replenish that with the current colors of cardstock that are in my stash. This was the first card that I made using the sampler. I adore this just peachy sentiment and this peach patterned paper here. We had a die cut peach. It's popped up on some foam, and my other 3 enamel dots were used here. And of course it's on a peach card base. All of the cards I've showed so far have that thin white border and have a few more like that. I love the way that this card came out. This is a few different pieces of the colored pattern paper put together, but then these pencils were part of one of the pattern papers, and I just fussy cut around them to use them as elements on this card. This one is on a white card base. All right, another A2 card. Hello was one of the die cut sentiments. I used a circle die to cut out this star from one of the pattern papers, layered all these together, and then I had a die to cut out this little heart to finish it off. I like this combination with all of the different papers, and with a sampler like this that's all one collection, everything coordinates, so it's really easy to get cohesive looks when you're combining all the patterns because the colors are on the same family. This is my last card of this A2 style with a thin frame around the outside. And for this one, I did use the Love die without the shadow here. I've got a couple pieces of the pattern paper. This doesn't look like pattern paper, but I'm pretty sure it's one of the rectangles just flipped over to the other side to reveal just some white. There was something written underneath it, I'm sure. I loved being able to mix and match all the papers in this month's sampler, and I used the 3 butterfly stickers. I thought it looked a little plain when I was done, so I did use my glue to put a thin line of glue all the way around the outline of this word, and then I added some Prisma glitter. That livened it up quite a bit. Okay, so one more A2 card. This one turned out so fun. The background here is actually made from stickers. So one of the sticker sheets that I got in my sampler was just a bunch of numerals. So you can kind of see this is what was left. And I was thinking, what am I going to do with these for a card? And I decided just to use them to make a pattern paper. I wasn't able to fill an entire A2 panel, so what I did is I just put them around the outside, did some layering, trimmed it down, and I was really happy with how that turned out. I thought it worked really well with the 24/7 Be Bold sentiment, and then I just added a few more little pieces of paper from the sampler as well as some embellishments from my stash. Okay, so we're already at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 A2 size cards. We are not done yet. Next, I have a mini slimline for you. This is 3 by 6, and I used again a couple of pieces of paper from the sampler. I mean, mostly the sampler was just paper. There were a few embellishments. It's mostly paper. I took some stickles and I made a dotted pattern all the way around. These 2 rectangles are cut using dies, so they have some nice stitching detail there, and then I liked the look of this paper kind of overlapping and going beyond the rectangle and all the way to the edge of the card base. I really like this mini slimline size. And now for a square card. This card is 4 by 4. It's top folding, and I just layered a couple pieces of the paper with a Laugh and Love foam sticker. I did pop this panel up on some foam as well, so this card has a lot of dimension, and then I chose to put this onto a craft card here, so this is 4 by 8 and scored in the middle. Now for a couple of fun folds. Let's get some space. So at first glance, this card appears to be another A2 card, which is my favorite card size to make. But when you open it up, you see, oh, something's happening. This is an easel card. And easel cards are really easy to make. You would just make your normal A2 card. So this is cut from a half a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper. So it's 4 1/4 this way, and then 11 inches this way, scored halfway. So that's at 5.5, and then one of the halves needs to be scored again. This is at 2 3/4, and then that allows this to bend up. You can choose to put a strip on the inside to use as sort of a stopper here, but if you use a heavy enough card base, you really don't need that, and mine isn't sitting right into it right now. Anyways, it just, well, it was working earlier, and this is just kind of the nature of that thick card. It just does kind of what it wants to do. So there we go. The hola, hi, hello was a piece of paper from the sampler, of course. There's a little sticker there. And then I liked that all of these papers were double-sided because I didn't have to do anything to the back of this, and it's already pretty. So when you glue your element onto an easel card like this, you only glue onto the bottom. And by only gluing onto the bottom, when you fold it, it allows it to pop up. Now the other trick to this is that the panel that I have here, just like on all of my other A2 size cards where I left a border, this panel was 4 by 5 1/4, but I cut it in half. So if you look closely, very closely here, you can see there's actually a little gap there, and that allows this card to bend and open really easily. If this paper had spanned over that gap, it would not fold up quite so nicely. So there's an easel card for you, and I actually did another card in that same exact style. Looks a little different because it's different colors, but again, it's just elements from this kit, and this one, see if this one will behave. This one pops up in exactly the same way. You can see I added a rainbow die cut here to the top just for a little added fun. But again, the back of this piece is already patterned and colorful, so you don't really need to do anything there. These easel cards are so fun to display on your desk or on a shelf, and you have plenty of room to write your message. So you could write it here at the bottom where it would be visible all the time, or if you didn't want it to be visible, you could of course write it in there, and then it could still be displayed. A couple of easel card fun folds for you. There was another A2 card hiding out in here, and I think I put it at the bottom of my stash because on this card I used the love die and the shadow. These are a great set of dies that I will definitely be using a lot in the future. I didn't find a lot of use for them on most of my cards. Obviously, you didn't see it used very often there, but I really want to use it to make Valentines, and I just didn't feel like this color palette was the direction I wanted to go with my Valentines for this year. But I wanted to show you very briefly that I am starting a couple of cards where I'm using this love die. I showed this in the intro. These hearts are from Lawn Fawn. It's a stencil, and I'm planning on doing a skunk card with this one, and I have no idea how I'm going to finish this card, but I wanted to show you that I am using these love dies for some other projects. And for my last project, I made a photo frame. So, well, it was already a photo frame, right? So we've got hello. I added one sticker, and then I put a backing on this with some magnets. Now, if you look down from the top, you can see there's some thickness here. That's because I put foam along these edges and along the bottom. And so the idea is I would give this as a gift, and it could be used as a photo frame that could hang on the fridge or on some other metal surface. And a photo that's printed in a 4x6 size will just easily slide right in through the top and can be displayed in the frame. Now, I also like that it could just be displayed the way it is because it has that pretty patterned paper there, but the idea is that it could be used as a photo frame. I just went and grabbed a photo in my room to show you how this would work. So the photo would just slide right in, and then this could be hung on the fridge. Isn't that so cute and so simple? So a great use for these cardboard frames is making a magnetic photo frame. Thank you so much for being patient with my voice today. I am starting to feel a little bit better, but I feel really tired still. And my voice is definitely not back to full capacity. I'm just giving you one more look at all of the projects that I made today. I feel like I got a really good variety of cards and different styles and different colors, even though they're all the same color palette. So happy with how this turned out, and I'm so excited to add this love die to my collection. I realized as I was going through these that I didn't end up using any of the hearts. There were heart dies included, and I used them, but I didn't end up using the pieces on the cards. And look how much is left. So I still have all of these stickers, and then all of these beautiful papers and elements to use on future projects. This sampler is awesome. It cost me $14 a month. It is my favorite Happy Mail. Every month it's a surprise. And I do these challenges so that instead of hoarding my supplies, I'm actually using them and giving myself a chance to be creative. I hope these projects inspired you. I'd love to hear what your favorite is. And if you're a subscriber too, I'd love to hear about your projects. I hope that you have a wonderful day and stay healthy. Go make something beautiful.